World War III starting in Iran. A plot to move the UN to Israel and launch a new world order. Is the purpose of the Middle East conflict to headquarter United Nations in Jerusalem? Jerusalem stands at the crossroads of history, spirituality, and geopolitics, a city revered by billions and contested by nations for millennia. Today, amid ongoing global tensions and aspirations for lasting peace, the question emerges: could Jerusalem become the future home of the United Nations headquarters, the ultimate center of world power? While the idea might seem controversial, it carries deep symbolic potential. Israel is home to sacred sites central to the three Abrahamic faiths. It is the birthplace of Jesus for Christians, the esplanade of the mosques, Al-Aqsa for Muslims, and notably the historic location of the two Jewish temples. Jerusalem could be proposed as a unique symbol for humanity's collective quest for peace. Prophetic visions from ancient texts like those of Isaiah and Zechariah envision Jerusalem as the ultimate meeting place for nations, where disputes are resolved not by warfare, but by dialogue and shared understanding. Could modern geopolitics echo these timeless visions? Could moving the UN headquarters to Jerusalem transform the city from a place of historic division into a global capital of diplomacy and peace? An article of New York Times, published on August 28, 1922, reflected some of the thoughts of Zionist leaders during a Congress of the World Zionist Organization. Its chairman, Nahum Sokolow, openly stated one of the goals of his organization: the League of Nations is a Jewish idea, and Jerusalem someday will become the capital of the world peace. Sokolow mentions two very specific ideas. The first, that the League of Nations, precursor of our current governance system, United Nations, was a Jewish idea. The second, that at some point, Jerusalem would be the capital of a new governance system. The League of Nations was founded after the First World War. United Nations was constituted after the Second World War. Will it be necessary a new world war to fulfill the dream of a world capital in Jerusalem? Isaiah's vision of universal peace. Isaiah 2, 3-4. Isaiah, a Jewish prophet, prophetically describes a future scenario in which Jerusalem becomes the spiritual epicenter of the world, a place where nations gather seeking divine wisdom and global peace. And many peoples shall go and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, that he may teach us his ways, and that we may walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He shall judge between the nations, and shall decide disputes for many peoples, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more." Isaiah's temple as a house of prayer for all nations, Isaiah 56:7. Isaiah further emphasizes the inclusive role of Jerusalem, envisioning a rebuilt temple as a universally accessible place of worship, prayer, and unity for humanity. "These I will bring to my holy mountain, and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and sacrifices will be accepted on my altar. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all peoples." Zechariah's prophecy of Jerusalem as a global spiritual capital, Zechariah 14:9. Zechariah predicts a time when Jerusalem becomes the spiritual center for humanity, marked by divine unity, recognized universally, and the Lord will be king over all the earth. On that day the Lord will be one, and his name one. In October 2023, Hamas launched a surprise attack on Israel, abducting 248 individuals. This ignited a conflict with Israel. Several exchanges of missiles followed, involving Israel, Gaza, Iran, and Yemeni rebels. In October 2024, Israel invaded southern Lebanon. A ceasefire was eventually reached on November 27, 2024. In Syria, Turkish and Israeli forces struggle for control of the remnants of the country, once ruled by Bashar al-Assad. These actions underscore the broader regional desire for influence involving Israel, Iran, Turkey, and their allies, the United States and Russia. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has articulated his objectives, aiming to reshape the Middle East by weakening Iran and annexing new territory into what is known as Greater Israel. The participation of Russia, a close ally of Iran, might turn this regional war into a global conflict involving nuclear powers. In recent weeks, significant activity involving American nuclear strategic bombers has been observed on the island of Diego Garcia, a military base for U.S. operations in the Middle East and Asia. Recent satellite images confirmed the presence of at least 3 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers at this facility. Parallel to these developments, the region is witnessing escalating tensions involving Iran and the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen. The United States has intensified military operations against the Houthis, supported by Tehran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expressed support for these actions, calling them a significant shift. Iran's nuclear program is another significant point of concern, and it has resulted in sanctions and threats of preemptive military action. Nuclear escalation is not out of the table. As usual, Hollywood seems to be 2 steps ahead of reality. Back in 2022, in the movie Top Gun: Maverick, filmmakers already depicted American aircraft striking Iran's nuclear facilities, long before similar scenarios surfaced prominently during Trump's administration. Donald Trump's alignment with Israel's interests are beyond any doubt. He is significantly influenced by his top donors Sheldon and Miriam Adelson throughout his presidential campaigns. One of Trump's most consequential foreign policy decisions in his first tenure was the relocation of the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem in May 2018. During escalations in Gaza, Trump demonstrated unwavering support for Israel, supporting his annexation of the West Bank. In a joint press conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Trump proposed relocating Palestinian residents to other countries, such as Egypt and Jordan, with financial support from other nations. Trump's ties to Israel include his daughter Ivanka's conversion to Judaism prior to her marriage to Jared Kushner, who served as a senior advisor in the White House. Kushner played a pivotal role in Middle East policy. Lately, claims have even surfaced on social media suggesting that Trump has a gold-made replica of the Ark of the Covenant at his Mar-a-Lago residence. Another interesting development is that in recent days, declassified CIA documents have surfaced, revealing a 1988 experiment involving remote viewing, a form of extrasensory perception, ESP, to locate the Ark of the Covenant. In this session, a participant identified as remote viewer number 32 described a container made of wood, gold, and silver, adorned with seraphim, situated underground near structures of what is thought to be some underground passage placed under the ruins of the Temple of Jerusalem. The first temple, also known as Solomon's Temple, was constructed in the 10th century BCE as the central place of worship for the Israelites. It housed the Ark of the Covenant within the Holy of Holies, the innermost sanctum accessible only by the high priest on Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement. This temple was destroyed in 586 BCE during the Babylonian conquest. The second temple was completed in 516 BCE after the return from Babylonian exile. Unlike its predecessor, it lacked the Ark in the Holy of Holies. It was destructed by the Romans in 70 CE. The Ark of the Covenant holds profound significance in Jewish tradition. According to the Hebrew Bible, it contained the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments and represented the divine presence among the Israelites. The Ark was central to religious ceremonies and symbolized God's covenant with his people. On Yom Kippur, the high priest performed elaborate rituals to atone for the sins of Israel. This included sacrificing a bull as a sin offering for himself and his household. The blood of the bull was sprinkled upon the mercy seat, the gold cover of the ark, inside the Holy of Holies. This act sought purification and reconciliation with God. Could the discovery of such ancient artifacts serve as yet another justification of the rights of Israel to own that land? Is the rebuilding of the temple imminent? The global powers once again appear to be applying the Hegelian dialectic, problem, reaction, solution, to advance their own agenda. It's likely that a major crisis is being engineered in the Middle East, only to justify a predetermined response. Relocating the center of global governance and peace to the very region that has seen the most turmoil over the past century, especially following a large-scale conflict, would carry immense symbolic weight. If the hypothesis I develop here is true, we should remember the lessons of past history. World War I laid the foundation for the League of Nations. Woodrow Wilson was even quoted by one of his biographers as saying in a speech, "A League of Nations was the fundamental war aim. The rest were only machinery to provide a clean foundation for it." World War I brought about the League of Nations and the British Mandate over Palestine. World War II gave birth to the United Nations, the Bretton Woods financial system, and later led to the creation of the State of Israel. Is World War III needed to carry out a new reset, a new status for Israel, a new global financial system, a new model of world governance, perhaps headquartered in Jerusalem? Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It's free, and if more people like you find my work valuable, I will create more content. Spread the word. If there is a community interested, I will publish more content regularly. You can also expand this info and get an unbelievable amount of information on how the system works in my second book, The Banking Revolutions. Get it now in Amazon, and if you read it and you liked it, it would be very helpful that you leave a positive rating in Amazon.